Great. Welcome. Good morning. Hi, Mam Pofu. Hi, Johnson. Hello, Mary. Perfect. Great. Good morning. So we're just going to start, and good morning to everyone who's watching live and people who are going to be watching a little bit later on replay, or when you get a chance, when you come from your shift. Good morning. My name is Rumbi Vunzawabaya, and I'm from an organization called Tulia. And Tulia is an organization that helps migrants to settle. We help migrants who are living in the UK to settle, in terms of settling legally, getting their right to live in the UK. And we also help migrants to settle holistically, settling family-wise, mentally, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And I just want to share, before I answer the questions that we have for today, just to tell a story of this week. Every day in our office, it's an environment where we go through journeys with the people who use our service, and we go through different types of journeys. Emotions are high, low. So we support people from all migrants, so not just skilled workers, not just carers, people who've lived here for 20 years, people who are homeless, people who are victims of domestic violence, people who've been bereaved whilst their spouses. So anything to do with immigration, settling in the UK, we support migrants and we help people to settle. And we had a case this week of a man who has lived in the UK for, I think it's 23 years from my memory, and he doesn't have his immigration status. Not even 23 years, so 98, that would be 25 years. And when we met him, he had nowhere to live. He was just being supported by friends, sofa surfing, just sleeping rough and just trying to survive. We helped with temporary accommodation for a while, and helped to get his papers. So he finally got his papers this week, and we were ecstatic. I'm a crier, so I just get very emotional, and because I know the impact when somebody can work, when somebody can access accommodation. You know, a right to rent is not a right that everyone has. There are people who don't have leave to remain in this country, who have lived here for 20-something years, who are not allowed to rent. And life happens, you know, so you can never say, how did they get there? Why did they not do this? Life happens. Things happen along the way, and you can reach a place where you have no one to pick you up. So we were able to do the applications, and the visa came, and this person can now get a job. This person can now rent. This person can now travel with time. You know, people can travel to go and see where loved ones were buried. They can travel to see children who they've never seen. And sometimes we can take having immigration status as just a right, or we don't. It's something that atikoshesi, but it's something kosha to have that right. It's something that is so valuable, something that should not be lost by any means necessary. It shouldn't be lost. So that's some good news of how our week has been. That was just the highlight of our week as a team. Everyone worked together. It was amazing, and we just love the impact. That is, that's what it's all about for us. And that's why Tulia, we have the name Tulia, to settle. We help migrants to settle. And so today I'm answering some questions from people who've texted in, but also I'm going to answer some questions about sponsor license revocations, because we've had many inquiries. I think there's been a number of sponsors whose licenses in the last couple of weeks have been revoked, and that has an impact on employees, it has an impact on migrants, it has an impact on the employer. So it's something that I want to address because we have so many questions around that. So good morning, Lenmore. Thank you for greeting me. Good morning. Good morning. I think I've seen someone else, Shupi. Good morning. Just to acknowledge you, Barbara. Good morning and welcome. So if you've got some questions, if you've got some issues that are burning, please pop them in the chat. So today I've got a question that came in, I think it must have been at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. because this person angatadza kurara. And the question is, I'm so sorry, I'm going to read it, for texting you late. I cannot sleep. I'm so stressed. I do dom care, domiciliary work, and on my way to the client, I didn't notice there was a speed limit of 30 miles because I was busy listening to the directions on Google Maps. And I was driving at 35 miles per hour instead of 30. I received the first ticket and I was given an option of attending speed awareness program. After 2 days, I received another one on the same spot, hey, these cameras, but different days and times. The second one said I should pay a fixed penalty of £100 and I'll lose 3 points. My main worry is I'm afraid that if I receive more tickets, my license may be banned. If I lose 6 points, is there any way I can plead with them that I was rushing to clients? So this is a question from someone who's on a limited leave to remain visa as a carer, and they've had 2 speeding tickets in a short space of time at the same spots. Those cameras are merciless. They're not going to remember that it's you, and they will keep clicking, and the tickets will come. And it's not good. It's not even funny, because it's easy to have too many points that you end up losing your license. But one thing I want to say is there's no one who's going to really listen to say that you were rushing to a client, you were rushing to a meeting. The speed limit is the speed limit. It's there for a reason. It's there for a purpose, regardless of what your situation is. And there's no one who's going to say because you were rushing somewhere, you're allowed to speed. So it might feel like, I think my initial answer was no, they're not going to say you are rushing anyway. What you've got to do is just stop speeding. Just make sure that you stop. Just observe the speed limit at all times. Just be really sure of always checking, always making sure. Don't get distracted. And the cameras are there, they're everywhere. They're there watching. So it's not even a case of knowing, sometimes you might think you're clear, you know which way to go and dodge the cameras, but the cameras will be there, the tickets will come. And so it's important not to speed. That's the only answer that I can give. So pay this fine of £100, go for the speed awareness program. That is so important to go for that program because it helps. It just helps to make you aware. It helps you to be aware of everything and to understand the impact, to understand that going at 35 in a 30-mile zone, what the impact can be if you crash into someone. What's the impact of the speed? Why is it set at such a speed limit in built up residential areas? Why is it 30. So it's really important to slow down, pay the fine, and never do it again. And now, just be careful. Honestly, just be careful, just be careful. Even driving without insurance, even drink driving. Those are the main questions that come through for us about driving. So driving without insurance. I had somebody say, what if my relative buys me the car and they insure it because they've got a British license? And then I said, so who will be driving the car? And they said, my relative, because they need it for work. So I'll buy it, I'll insure it, and they will drive it. And I said, no, you have to be a named driver if you're going to drive it. They have to put you on the insurance. And if you've got a foreign license and you're a named driver, it will still bring up the premiums. So it's a way round, but you will have to be a named driver. You cannot drive whilst you're not insured. And if you're caught driving uninsured, again, the law will come down hard on you. And also drink driving. So I cannot stress how important it is and the consequences of it. If you have many speeding tickets, and then you lose your license because of the points, that has an impact on your work, and especially if you're working in domiciliary care. So now you can't drive. That then has an impact on your visa and even your ability to switch. So it has such a ripple effect. If you get a criminal conviction for drink driving, or a criminal conviction for driving uninsured, then that becomes something that you have to disclose on all of your immigration applications. And one thing that I shared at the beginning, a story of someone who got their papers after many years in the UK. And one of the things I have witnessed and seen is people actually losing their visas because of driving offenses. So where you have a string of offenses, drink driving banned, driving whilst banned, the Home Office will say you have no regard for the law. So we are not going to renew your visa, even if you have a right to be here because of the offenses. So Ndapota, just reiterating, please drive safely. Don't be late. I saw a comment from someone who was saying, why are you late? I can't see the comment anymore, but there was a comment from somebody that says, try not to be, it's from Sue. People should learn that if you are late, speeding will not make you early. You may gain 2 to 5 minutes, but by being late with 5 minutes does not harm anyone, honestly, especially when you're running to a care call. So speeding will not make you early. I like that. So definitely don't rush, don't speed, don't do it. Just follow the rules. Just follow them, because there's no other option. And the consequences of not following them are the things that keep people like me in jobs. Because when people don't follow and they have problems on extension of visas, on applying for indefinite leave, even after you've got indefinite leave to remain. So even if you have indefinite leave to remain and you are caught drink driving and you're put into prison, or because if you have, or you're banned and you're drink driving and you're caught, so you're driving whilst banned, that can have serious consequences, because the Home Office can recommend that you get deported and that your indefinite leave should be cancelled. So the rule of law is the rule of law, and we have to make sure that we follow it. So that was a question that I received about speeding, and it ended up getting more, but I think it's so important to understand the consequences of actions. Thanks so much, Maureen, for the stars. Thank you so much. God bless you. Yeah. And Nyasha, the Honda Fit mentality that some course holders have is just not good. I sometimes think Zimbabweans just need retesting to avoid accidents, losing jobs, or even fatality. And I think it's foreign drivers as well, you know, not just Zimbabweans, because a lot of countries, it's like carnage on the road. It's just people do whatever on the roads. It's, you know, people are driving in a way that order is chaos, and there's no application of the law. You can bribe somebody, you can pay a policeman, you can get away with it. But here, it's a machine. It takes a camera, it sends you a ticket. You can't even negotiate with the machine. And so it's so important to change mindset. And I like that Honda Fit mentality. That Honda Fit mentality, it must go, because it won't last. And the consequences of not following the rules, it can look like just drink driving. I know a lot of times when I'm filling in forms and I ask, do you have any criminal convictions? No, I don't have any convictions. Oh, great. Just driving. But that just driving can have such serious consequences. So retesting, I think, is important. And maybe, you know, people have been complaining about the DVLA not accepting Zimbabwean licenses to transfer for a UK license. And it may be because of that, because they have to ensure that the roads are safe, to avoid accidents, to avoid people dying on the roads, to avoid fatalities. So it's better, isn't it, to just take the lessons, be retested, and then drive, because it can save your life, save your job, and save your visa, because that's what we want. We don't want to lose our visa. So I really think that is really true in that respect. Thank you. Dumisani is talking about the DVLA, that the first time I was told about the blue copy, which I no longer have, and the second time I sent my license with a letter from CVR confirming it's valid, and still back with the same issue of the blue certificate of competency. And I think that is a common problem, and the DVLA is not budging. So a lot of people are just having to do their test again, going for a crash course here like for a week and trying to get in for a test. There is a very good driving instructor who I met at a business meet and greet, and I didn't take his details. I know I think in Swindon, and he's done a lot of crash courses for people and just got people through. So seasoned drivers, that might be the best option for you. I know it's expensive, it's time consuming, but it's probably better to just go through a week crash course and resit the test, because people are going back and forth with DVLA and it's not changing. And insurance premiums are also rising as well because of the number of incidents on the road, claims, and accidents with holders of foreign licenses. So it's really important to, that might be the answer. I've got no solution, but that's one route that people are taking, is just getting and just doing a new a license from here. So right, I had seen a question, because I had encouraged people to write questions, but I cannot find it. Barbara Mkiki, hi. You've said, can you advise? I'm so stressed, I can't even think properly. My son applied for a health skilled visa in May. Up to now, no communication from Home Office. We did 3 paid inquiries and escalation, and the Home Office said according to them, the decision has been made, but passport hatina. And you know what, Barbara, this is I think this week, this is about the 3rd case that I have heard where a decision has been made, but the passport has not been released. And people have been waiting since May. So I have no explanation for it, and you've done the right thing by making the paid inquiries and the escalation to the Home Office. Another thing that you can do is contact your MP here in the UK. Check, ask the MP to write to check with the Home Office, so the MP can also check for you to understand what the delay is. The employer can also do that, because the employer is waiting for their staff since May. So the employer can also contact their local member of parliament and ask them to pursue the, to explain the reason why. The other thing that you can do if that fails is instruct a solicitor to do what's called a pre-action protocol, which is pre-judicial review, that the delay, it's unreasonable in releasing the passport. If they don't release the passport within a certain period of time, you're then going to have to take them to the High Court. Because what the judicial review is a tool that holds public bodies to account. So it's asking the judiciary, who is the courts, to hold the Home Office to account. So the Home Office is not just a body on its own that does what it wants. It is accountable. So when you contact your MP, it's Parliament is public bodies are accountable to Parliament. So your MP is your representative, who then asks the Home Office, why Makabata passport Ramunu? You've made a decision May, June, July, August, September almost, but you've made a decision. Why are you not releasing? Are there queries that you're making? You're not meeting your service standards. You've said that you're going to make decisions within 15 working days. If there's any queries or if there's anything that you're not sure about, they can then write to you and ask for that information. It increases the time. So we've got one arm of government, which is Parliament will call them into question through your MP. If that fails, you have the judiciary. The judiciary is through judicial review, where you write to the Home Office or you get a lawyer to do it. We do judicial reviews, pre-action protocol letters, where we are saying to the entry clearance officer in Pretoria, excuse me, what's happening to this? Give us a time frame. Tell us, when are you going to make a decision? Is the passport lost? If the passport is lost, then tell us that it's lost, and then you recover it, and you do whatever you need to do, because other applications are just going in 3 weeks. It may be another thing. There may be an investigation with the sponsor. So it may be that the sponsor's license, you check with the sponsor, has it been suspended? Has it been revoked? Sometimes you won't even know. And I hope and I pray that the COS is genuine. But whatever the case, they must tell you. They must tell you what it is that they're doing. They should tell you if they're making further inquiries. They should say they're making further inquiries. But in your case, a decision has been made. Why are they holding it? So that is what we have to do. So 2 things you can do. One is your MP, and that's a free service. You can do that, no problem. The other is judicial review. That is an expensive process, the whole process, but you can start with the pre-action work, which is not expensive, not as expensive as going all the way to the High Court. But have a look at judicial review. You can Google it and see and read about that. But also check with your MP, ask your sponsor to check with the MP as well, because your sponsor should be pushing, because they have, they want this person to come and work. They've got work that's waiting for them. So they should also be pressing for their staff, because they want people to come and work. So they also have a lot of power to also do that. And Costa, also escalate that. If you've received my visa recently, and my son's passport was returned with nothing, and no refusal has been sent for 2 weeks now. So do check and ask them. It may be that they've refused your sons, but they should give you a reason so that you know what to do. So definitely pursue that. Yeah, pursue that with them. That's great. Yeah, they're insisting on the blue copy, otherwise redo locally to get a full UK license. Thanks, Anita. That's the advice that we're giving. Yeah, great. And just jumping on to Happy Nzol. Hi. How do I know I have no access to public funds? I have leave to remain to renew every 2.5 years. So what does your BRP say? You know, your biometric residence permit. Does it say no recourse to public funds? Because it's endorsed on there. So read your BRP and see what it says. If it says public funds, so it does have an endorsement. If there's no recourse to public funds, it will say. And that's how you will know. And your letter, it does. So if it doesn't say you have no recourse to public funds, then you do. I hope that makes sense. Right, great. I'm just going to quickly. Yeah. Rose, thanks. You said with the blue copy they declined your uncle. Yeah, so I think the answer is just to do a UK test if you can't switch your license, unfortunately. I have got a question about sponsors license revocation. So I'll just jump onto that for about 10 minutes and then I will be gone. But so sponsor licenses, you know, the employers can have their sponsor license for a period of 4 years. It can be renewed, but at any time the license can be revoked. So we all know that, I'm sure. The license can be revoked. So the Home Office do various things. They do inspections. They work on intelligence. So some of their work is intelligence-led. They get referrals from different types of organizations. So when people phone to say if someone is found on the street with their children and they tell social services, I came here, I thought I had a job, but when I arrived, there was no work, no hours, and I'm now on the street. Never know, we've got nowhere to live. So social services, they'll take the children because they don't like children to be homeless. You know, they have to protect and safeguard the children. So they will take you in, and when they do, they will ask all the details of what's happening. So that can be intelligence, because the government bodies, until they work together, so they will tell the Home Office, pana sponsor you akaunza vanhu, but look, we found these people on the street. We're now having to help them to go back to their country or to switch, but in the meantime, we've provided them with accommodation. So they will then give that information. So it doesn't even have to be like a person has reported. A lot of it is intelligence led, and a lot of it is from different organizations or from people complaining. You know, when people are saying to each other, report, sometimes there's this culture of, you know, sometimes things need to be reported, but some things are not things that need to be reported. But definitely, so that reporting will cause the Home Office to go and see. So we've seen a large number in the last couple of months, but more so in the last few weeks, big companies as well, with a lot of staff losing their licenses. So the Home Office investigates, and then they say, we're suspending your license and we want you to answer some questions. So people can answer questions. They can then make a decision either to keep you, to say, okay, you fixed pamakanganisa, but you can keep your license. Or they can say, you haven't fixed, but there are minor issues, so we'll downgrade you and give you an action plan. That action plan, you must work on it. And when you finish working, we'll come back, inspect you, see whether you're doing a good job and you're keeping, your systems are running smooth. Or they can say, we're taking it back. You are not allowed to have that privilege to sponsor foreign workers anymore. So when the Home Office revokes a license, from the day that they revoke it, so when they send a letter and say your license is now revoked, that employer no longer has the right to employ and sponsor foreign workers. So effectively, it means that from that day, they no longer have that right. So you no longer are able to work for them because they cannot sponsor you. So you are then given a grace period to look for a new sponsor, because it won't be, if you are innocent, if you're innocent is very important. If you're innocent and you haven't been part of the reason why they've lost their license, and you were just someone who was just working, you are given 60 days to find a new sponsor, to switch into a different visa category, to go back to your country of origin. So you are then given the chance to do, to sort yourself out. So you're given 60 days. The Home Office will write to you and give you a date, mgano, to say, from this date, you no longer have leave to remain. If you put in your share code, it comes out with not allowed to work. If you try and work, it will be difficult for you. And if you what else is there? If you are renting, sometimes they even write to your landlord to say this person no longer has a right to rent. They start asking you to report. You go to the Home Office to sign every 2 weeks to say I'm here. If you allow that period of grace period to lapse, you no longer have a right to be here. And you have to then make a plan, either to go back or to, like what I said before, you make a plan. So you've got to seek advice. I always say to everyone, seek advice if you're in that position. But the most important thing is to look for another job and look for a switch. So where a license is revoked, it's no longer the employer who is at fault. They might have made mistakes, but the people who suffer are the people who are working for them, because it has serious consequences on your visas and your right to stay. The employer can still carry on with their business. They can employ people who have got indefinite leave to remain, people who are on 2.5 years. They can employ asylum seekers who've got permission to work. They can employ dependents. They can employ people who can work for 20 hours. So they can still employ people, but they just cannot sponsor. So you see, the people who are impacted the most is the people who are working for them. And then there are some people who would have come and obtained the right to come and work for someone, but they just don't work for them. They go and work for somebody else. And they go and work somewhere else because they want to be near their relatives. But maybe the sponsor will have made a mistake and they wouldn't have cancelled their visa or notified the Home Office that this person is not here. They're actually somewhere else. They're in Wales. I'm in Brighton. And they wouldn't have told, and they would have kept them on their books. So when the Home Office comes, they will then say, you're also part of the reason. So those people, they don't get the 60-day grace period. They curtail immediately. So if you were part of it, they will just cancel your visa. So they don't give you that room to switch. So I've heard, I hear people talking a lot saying, it won't affect me, I can switch, I'll just go. But they will tell you that you were complicit. You're actually part of it because you never came to work. you went to work somewhere else, but you knew who was supposed to be employing you, but you didn't, you went somewhere else. So you will actually be also guilty. So you won't be innocent. So you won't automatically get the 60 days that will enable you to switch. And we've seen that with quite a lot of people from certain countries, not even people from, many people who watch this are from Zim, but there's like groups from different countries where people never even turned up at the sponsor. They just entered here and Magango Takatik. So they will have their visas cancelled straight away. So it's important to know that if you are complicit, then the Home Office will also hold you accountable. So it is not a given that you're just going to have the 60 days. So revocation is real. There's so many reasons for revocation. I've seen some people who are saying, do you privately advise sponsors? Yes, I do. And it's one of the things that we are really hot on, because we want to prevent this. So prevention is really important. So we work with sponsors as well, because there's no one who's an enemy. We're all in this together. Everybody wants to survive. The sponsors want to have a business. The people who are working want to have a job and they want to have visas. We want everyone to win. So there's no winners. There's no them versus us. It's all of us together. So we work with sponsors to avoid revocation. We don't want anyone to lose their license, because the impact on families, the impact is terrible. It's not even, we've had to sit and give people news about revocation, and it's devastating. And it's not easy to just get a switch. We've been talking about the difficulties with my license, and you might not be able to get another job because they need drivers. So it's not like it's just going to happen that you're just going to get a switch. So we do work with sponsors. We work one-to-one with sponsors, and I'm going to hope and trust that somebody will share a link where you can book a one-to-one. Just an hour, we'll go through with you. If you want us to do before a visit, we can come in and do a mock audit with you, where we go through, do an audit, go through your files, go through your systems, check that you're compliant, help you to put systems in place. If you're having a visit, we can help you again before the visit, but contact us in time as well. If you're having a visit like tomorrow or 3 weeks, we can't do like 2 days. We can't do it, but give us time so that we can help you to get systems in place. If there's things that you need to do, need to change, you need to change. You need to change your contract. You need to change the way that you're doing things. If you've got too many staff members, you may need to let some people go so that you can be able to give hours to the ones that you have, than having too many people and you're not able to give them hours. It doesn't benefit anyone. It's better for people to look for switches and look for places where they can work, so that your license as a sponsor is protected, but even the future for the people is protected. Because if you continue breaking the law, then it will come. It will come back to you, and it won't be safe. So yes, we do work with sponsors and try to avoid. So it's prevention work, because we are preventing a revocation. It can lead to so many things. From a public health perspective, people can get depressed and suicidal and thinking, now I'm going back to where I ran away from. I sold everything. From housing, it can cause problems with people being destitute. It can cause problem to NHS. It can cause, so the impact is so severe. Children who've been uprooted from one country, brought to another, now they're being told your parent, so the impact of revocation is not, it's not small. It's massive, and it has a ripple effect. So if you work with sponsors, it prevents a lot. Even things like labor abuse, there is no need to abuse your workers. So labor abuse is a big thing. And, it's important to be able to work with people to be able to avoid those things, because it's not necessary. We don't need to do that. It's we just need to treat people fairly, treat people with respect. Everyone wins. At the end of the day, everyone wins. because we're not here to no one wants to suffer, and no one wants to lose their business, and no one wants to lose their job. But things happen, mistakes happen. The regulations for sponsors there's so many sponsor guidance, like thick volumes, and they change. So you have to keep on top of it. And so if you breach those, then it can lead to revocation. And revocation doesn't mean the sponsor was a bad person. It doesn't mean matsotsi. It doesn't mean that they're bad at all. No, it can happen to anyone, because the rules are so strict, and the Home Office have got what's called a light trigger approach. So where you breach something without knowing, then it can easily impact you in the long term. So, things like, even like common things like not disclosing when you have family or related people within your organization and you haven't disclosed it, and you pretend that it doesn't exist when it does, not giving people enough hours and not notifying the Home Office about changes, or when people are delayed in arriving and you don't update the system and you don't notify the Home Office, when people are absent from work and they're not working, or they've got unauthorized absence but you don't notify on your SMS system as an employer, that can come back for you. When you don't have processes to show that how did you recruit your people, your interviews, your adverts, you still need to have a record of that, and you need to keep it. So when they ask you and you don't have it, contracts that are signed, all of those things are things that are really, really important, and it can lead to suspension or revocation. So we also do webinars for sponsors once a month, where we try and talk through some of the issues, go through some case studies, and just help each other to have knowledge so that we don't fall foul of the rules. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to the best employer. So it's not a case of celebrating, that total license. There's nothing to celebrate, absolutely nothing, because of the impact it has on the people. There is nothing to celebrate, because it's actually very devastating. And hakuna, it's not easy to just get a quick switch. So it's really important. We've got a blog post on our website, and also on the UKVI website. There is information there as well on what happens when a license is revoked, what circumstances lead to a revocation, and all of those consequences. And I think it's so important for us to talk about this. It's important for us to prevent it. We have to work together to be able to achieve our goals. I think there's no need for bringing each other down. I don't think that's necessary, to honestly. That's just how I am as a person. I wouldn't celebrate, because why would you celebrate from somebody else going through that? Because of the ripple effect and the impact it has. So it's so important to try and prevent that as much as possible. But if the license has been revoked, then you need to work hard to switch and find an employer as quickly as possible, because that 60 days goes quick. The Home Office will write and give you a date where they say, from this day your visa has ended. So sometimes it may be a little bit longer than 60 days. But what I say to people is, from the minute start looking and make sure that you are finding a switch, because that is the most important thing. And we're going to share a link in the chat of we've got WhatsApp groups where people it's a peer support group, and people will just share information. If there's jobs where they are working, then they share to say, where I am, there's vacancies. If they find some adverts or any information, people sharing that information. So you can join those WhatsApp groups. The links are going to be in the chat, and share information. But if you are but just be careful, because on those groups we can't vet everyone, And there's people who join who will be advertising things that they're selling. So be very careful. Please don't just buy things on there. Just don't buy it. Don't buy it. Just apply through proper channels. You know, when someone says, I can give you this, sometimes it's usually dodgy. So just don't do that. You know, like if you find there's an organization called Elysium, they were recruiting before, and a lot of people got jobs there. Apply to organizations, just go through application processes. And my shortcuts, sometimes you end up getting burned. So on the peer support groups, there's information being shared, but obviously be careful. Just be vigilant. Make sure that you're not being hoodwinked. So be careful. Yeah, so I think that is all. We have got a blog post on our website which has got a lot more information. But if you're somebody who's looking and your sponsor's license has been revoked, even job center. So there's the job center. You can go to the job center and look for jobs. They may have people who are sponsoring. In Coventry, we've got CMRC, which is the Coventry Refugee and Migrant Center. They have a department that deals with employment. So they can also, if you sign up with them, they can try and help for you to be able to get jobs. So look around everywhere, on Indeed, wherever. Go through the sponsor list, apply, and try and make sure that you switch so that you don't lose your right to stay. However, if you don't, get legal advice, because there may be other options that you can take. So according to whatever your situation is, there may be other routes that you can take to be able to stay. But get advice. Don't bury your head in the sand. Don't just don't hide and think that it will go away, or stay, just thinking don't become don't stay underground. Don't as much as you can avoid it, please seek advice. Advice is available. We live in ages now where there's so much information and there's access to information. But make sure that you try and switch into another visa category. So I hope that that has been helpful for you today. Thank you so much. We've had less comments or questions, but I know that I hope the information has been good. We'll share information about the webinar, and we will pass that on. Yes, Sandra, no hiding, because it won't work. And not in the environment that we live in. There's the Illegal Immigration Act that has come out that, it's bad. Like it's the environment that we live in is quite hostile to immigrants. So it's important to stay on the right side of the law because of the consequences that are there. And so, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and be blessed. Take care. Thank you so much for joining.